Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick video on antiarrhythmic medications. This has to do a lot with cardiac action potential. So if you need to go back and review how ions move in and out of cells, I would go back and listen to that lecture, and I believe it was also covered in one of the Zoom calls. So just to review, we have two types of action potentials when it comes to the cardiac cell. This first one here is called nodal, different color. Nodal cells. This has to do with the SA node and the AV node. The parts of this action potential are, we start out down here with phase 4, which is the opening of sodium channels. Then we move to phase 0, which is the opening of calcium channels. Then we have a negative direction by the opening of potassium channels in phase 3, which will bring us back to phase 4. The other action potential we have is non-nodal. And this would be cardiac myocytes and the Purkinje fibers. So we start out here at phase 0, which is the opening of sodium channels. And that brings us all the way up here to this short little dip, which would be phase 1. Phase 1 is the opening of potassium channels. Now these potassium channels remain open, but we get this nice plateau because it is balanced out here in phase 2 by the opening of calcium channels. In phase 3, our calcium channels will close, but our potassium channels will remain open, which will bring us back down here towards baseline to phase 4, where our sodium potassium pump will restore things back to normal. So let's talk about our antiarrhythmic drugs. Our first one is going to be our class 1, or sodium channel blockers. Now this is going to affect non-nodal action potential, and what it's going to do is affect the phase 0. Now, if we remember, anything underneath this action potential hump is considered a refractory period, so nothing can happen. No new beats can go through. If we can extend this time, then we can slow down the heart rate, which is what antiarrhythmics do. So class 1 is going to do this by affecting phase 0, which is where the sodium channels come in. And we're going to move from here to here. So we can clean this up a little bit. So again, we moved from here with phase 0 to here, extending out our refractory period and slowing down the heart rate. Our next one will be class 2, or beta blockers. This is going to affect nodal. Now, beta blockers are going to stop our sympathetic nervous system in the SA and AV nodes. But we can see this in the action potential in phase 4. And what's going to happen is we're going to end up extending our length of phase 4 and decreasing the slope. So we'll go from here to here, extending out our refractory period and slowing down our heart rate. Our next class of drugs is class 3, or potassium channel blockers. These are going to have an effect on non-nodal cardiac action potential, and specifically is going to affect phase 3. So we're going to end up bumping our phase 3 out. So we'll go from here to here, extending our refractory period and again slowing down our heart rate. Our last class is class 4, or calcium channel blockers. These have an effect on nodal sites, and specifically our phase 0. So we're going to end up decreasing the slope of phase 0, extending our refractory period. So we'll go from here to here. Again, extending our refractory period and slowing our heart rate down. So that would be our 4 classes of antiarrhythmic drugs. We do have a 5th class that would be other, but we'll have to cover that in another video. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.